Noemi was one of the members of EnglishProTips.com, and we did a practice speaking test before she went to do her real IELTS test. Now, Noemi needed a band 7 in the speaking test to be eligible to become a nurse in the UK. However, when she went to do her IELTS speaking test, she actually got a band 8. So, as you can imagine, she was totally ecstatic. Now, there is a lot of great language in this practice test, which I have highlighted in the video. And stick around until the very end of the practice speaking test to see what advice I gave her, particularly for part 2 of the speaking test. Enjoy. So this is the speaking test conducted on the 16th of April over Zoom. The examiner is Eli Hardy Howes and the candidate is Noemi. So good afternoon. My name is Eli. Can you please tell me your full name?
I am Noemi Ilopre Iduwu.
And what should I call you?
You can just call me Noemi.
Noemi. Okay, so Noemi, in the first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about the town or city that you live in. Have you always lived in the same town or city?
No, actually, in the past 3 years, we've moved twice already. So, in the first town that we were at, it was also a small town, like here. In the recent place that we were in, it's a cozy town. It's like 25 kilometers away from the center, the Copenhagen Central Station. So it has like a country feeling to it. So we like it.
And would you like to always live in this city?
No. As our situation is changing, we plan to move to another country, and so it means that we will move to another city. But I think our standards of a place remains the same. It should have like a country feeling to it. So yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about weekends. Do you wake up early at the weekend?
No. Actually, on the weekends, we as a family wake up like maybe at 8 o'clock. Unlike on the weekdays, where I wake up at 5:30 so that I can catch the train and get to work at 7 o'clock. Yeah.
And do you like to have the same routine every weekend?
Yes, it's a nice routine that we have. So on a Saturday, we wake up. We wake up at 8 o'clock, and then we prepare ourselves for a virtual church gathering on Zoom. We do that every Saturday, and on Sundays, it's either we are invited for a dinner or a lunch by our friends and acquaintances. So we would like to continue that kind of regularity in our weekends.
Were your weekends very different when you were younger?
No, actually, it's not that much of a difference because when I was a child, we still go to the church on Saturdays. But the main difference is that before it was a physical church that we go to, and now it's kind of online and isolated. So I think that's the main difference. On Sunday, I think it's much the same.
Is there anything you would like to change about your weekends?
I think that's a hard question, especially for me as a person. I don't like a lot of changes. When when there is like even a small deviation in my routine, I will panic a bit. So for me, I'm quite contented with my weekends and how we do things on the weekends.
Hmm. Let's move on. Let's talk about singers. Do you have a favorite singer?
Yes, I have definitely. And of course, I'm sure that you don't know her. She's not really um, a worldwide famous singer. She's in the Philippines and she is called Sarah Hieronimo. I really like her voice, and when she sings, it feels like there's an angel that I am listening to an angel. That her voice is very calming.
Have you ever been to a live concert to see a singer?
Uh, Unfortunately, no, I have not been. Oh, now I can recall the the occasion where we went to a theater.
Mhm.
Yes. I think, yeah, I had been to a theater and we enjoyed that concert. It's a classical performance. But I forgot the name.
Are singers from other countries popular where you live?
Sorry, I did not hear. It was a bit choppy.
Yes. Are
Can you
singers
repeat it?
from other countries popular where you live?
Yes. Um, Filipino Filipinos love singers from America, especially Mariah Carey, um, Selena Gomez, Taylor Swift. I think my fellow Filipinos, they are um, so in love with these singers, and there are a lot of singers in the Philippines that try to imitate them and how they sing.
Would you like to be a famous singer?
No, never in my dream.
Why?
Because I, I love music, but I think it doesn't love me. I listen to songs a lot and different kinds of genres also. But I'm contented with listening, and I will leave the limelight to those famous people.
Mhm. Now, in this next part, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do understand.
All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. I am a fan of green green spots, especially in the cities. I'm not really a city girl, but in my situation right now, I I don't have any choice but to also seek for those green spots in the cities. So we have these parks. It's either natural and man-made, and I usually go there to relax. And when I go there, I bring a book with me. If I don't have a book with me, then I just sit there, observe people that are passing by, um, and observe what they do. And also, I'd like to watch how the animals are fed, those kind of things. And um, I find it very therapeutic when I go to these places. It's calming, it's good for my eyes, and it clears my mind of any clutter I have within the day, especially when I am stressed with work and with maybe maintaining a family. So I really love to go to these places. Um, yeah. Sorry. Do I need to really finish the 2 minutes?
Yes. Okay, so
Okay.
how often do you go to this park, would you say?
Um, I go there when, for example, I have a day off work, and also on Sundays. Yeah.
Okay, so now in this next part, I'm going to ask you one or two more general questions related to your topic. Let's consider,
Okay.
first of all, relaxation. So you mentioned you're from the Philippines. What kind of
Yes.
activities do people from the Philippines find relaxing?
Um, One thing that comes to my mind um, is the is that people just come out of their houses and sit there outside, and then call the neighbors, because I live in a small village, and that's what people do there. We just go out, talk to our neighbors, and that's our way of relaxing.
Is it
um,
different in where you live now in Copenhagen or near Copenhagen?
Sorry.
Is it different, the way that people relax
Yes.
in the Philippines and where you live now?
Yes, it's very different. Here, we don't usually see our neighbors, unfortunately. But of course, I would like to talk to them and see them, because I'm a person who really love to talk to people. So here, when they relax, people just go out to the parks, have a beer, walk the dog, things like that. But in the Philippines, it's quite different.
Would you say that the way that people relax is different when you're older and younger?
Um, of course, it's different with younger people. If we talk about them, they seek relaxation in other things, like playing games, video games, or for them, maybe going to the parties is a part of relaxation, unwinding. But for older people, putting their feet up and just relaxing in their homes. I think those are the ways that they they get out of stress. You know.
Some people say that nowadays we're a lot busier than we used to be in the past. What do you think?
It is true, that statement. I agree with that. And one of the reason, I think, is the advancement in technology. Obviously, some people say that this innovation would help us not to be busy, but um, in fact, what is happening is the opposite, because we now know that we have these machines, and so we put more work on these machines so that they could do it and to make the um, task accomplished.
Um, so, do you think that people would be better off if technology didn't advance at such a rapid rate?
Um, no, I guess I'm not saying that. I think it just depends on how we use technology and our relationship to it. I think in this modern days, we just need to prioritize things. We need to plan our day so that this technology will not get in our way of living. Of course, they are very beneficial to us, but we also make boundaries. We just use them if we need them, and if not, then yeah, we do away with them.
What advice would you give to somebody that feels that technology is taking over their life a little bit too much and not giving them the personal space that they need?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to advise those people. Um, but I would say to them that I empathize with them because, of course, I live in the same generation where um, these gadgets are ubiquitous, and um, it it's it easily gets on our way. But I would tell them that I empathize with them and that they will just do their best, um, not to be overwhelmed, and make boundaries when using this technology.
Do you think
Yes.
there's much of a difference between relaxation and laziness?
Um, I, I honestly don't know. I think, okay, with relaxation, I think it implies that you worked hard before
Mhm.
you do the relaxation. But with laziness, I reckon that you don't really do things at all, like even beforehand. So, yeah, that's what I thought.
So is one better than the other?
Yes, of course, relaxation is better than being lazy.
Okay, thank you very much, Noemi. That is the end of the speaking test. Ah,
Ah.
right. How did you find it?
um, I was really nervous all throughout, and I keep on thinking of my vocabulary, my grammar, to the point that I am disturbed by it, and so I cannot think and I cannot express myself well. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Because I thought, your vocabulary and your grammar was at a very, very high level. And I was very impressed. And what we'll do in a second is go through some of the amazing vocabulary that you used. Um, and, I don't think you have anything to worry about getting at least band 7 in the speaking test because in my opinion, and this is not reflective of the British Council
Mhm.
IDP, in my
Yeah, yeah,
opinion,
yeah.
you are well beyond band 7. And what we'll do is
Wow.
look at each part individually. So you're assessed on 4 criteria. The first one is fluency and coherence, and that
Mm-hmm.
refers to your ability to speak often at length without hesitation or repetition. And of the 4, this is maybe your lowest score.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think it's because you said you were consciously thinking about the vocabulary and grammar and how not to make mistakes. And so as a result,
Yeah.
sometimes your fluency was a bit hesitant. But
Mm.
I can see that you're very capable of doing very well in fluency and coherence. You strike me as someone that might do slightly better if you've just had a conversation in English with your husband and a coffee, and then you go straight in and you feel more relaxed. And so I think just getting into that kind of mentality might help you when it comes to the speaking.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, you're capable of band 8 for fluency and coherence. In this test, it would be band 7, and maybe some cruel examiners would give you band 6. And I'll tell you why, because
Mm.
in part 2, you really need to speak for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So one of the criteria of band 7 plus is that the candidate, so you, can speak at length without noticeable effort. And what happened
Mm.
is you stopped and you couldn't
Yes.
continue. So that shows that you can't speak at length without noticeable effort. So you might
Mm.
get an examiner that would give you 6 at that for that. And that was only in part 2 because in every other part you were fine. So what I'd
Mm.
recommend is just continue speaking, and then the examiner will tell you to stop. And it's quite awkward
Mm.
because if you stop talking, the examiner is just going to listen, go like this, like
Yeah.
I did, and wait for you to continue. I mean, that's what they're instructed to do. And it will kind of throw you off your thought. So just continue speaking, and then they will tell you to stop at the end.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. Can I speak?
Yeah.
It's just because I don't know really like how to divide like each point. Um, but I guess I don't really have to, because when, for example, when I finish everything, the points to say something about the points, each point, then I don't want to go back again to the first point if I just have to, sustain. Um, yeah, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean because you don't want to repeat yourself and start all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I just, okay, maybe stop and then I will just practice more.
So
Yeah.
what I'd recommend to you, Naomi, is if that happens, start to talk about the future. So what you do is you say, "Now
Mm.
look, I'm about to move to the UK, and I'm really going to miss this park. I really hope I can find somewhere similar because it's been so integral for me as a place to sit down and relax." And as soon as you start talking about the future, you've got a whole new set of things to talk about.
Okay, I will take note of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
a good idea.
yeah, that's a piece of advice that I think is one of the best pieces of advice that you can have for part two because it just suddenly gives
Mm,
you a lot more opportunity to speak. The other thing that
yeah.
a lot of candidates do that helps them is to tell a story in part two. So, for
Mm,
example, if you're talking about a park, you tell the story of when you first went to the park, how you felt when you went there, what you saw when you went there, and then you start talking about how your relationship with the park changed. Maybe you met somebody while you were there, and then you begin to elaborate on an anecdote, a story about that park, which gives you more opportunities to use different grammar, different tenses, and speak for longer.
yeah, yeah, tell a story. Okay.
And in English Pro Tips, we've got these IELTS speaking simulations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what you can do is just you can record yourself doing these just to make sure that you can speak for 2 minutes as just some practice. Unfortunately, no one will assess that. It's just for your own record. But it's something that you can do to familiarize yourself with what 2 minutes feels like when you're speaking.
Mm, okay.
Okay, so the next thing, so you've got fluent and coherence. Next thing is lexical resource, which is vocabulary, and your lexical resource is astounding. It's really good. It started very good, and it even just got better and better. So in part one, we had lovely collocations like cozy town, a country feeling, um, physical church, moving to online, um, contented with my routine. It feels as though I'm listening to an angel, calming voice, genre, limelight. Then in part two, we've got a lot of nice vocabulary as well. I'm not really a city girl, but and then elaborating natural and man-made. Um, the way animals are fed. So to feed in the past simple is a very nice verb and very unusual to hear. So very nice. Describing something as therapeutic, the park, very nice. Clear my mind of clutter. That's a very powerful collocation that can get you a very high
Mm,
score in for lexical resource. And then in part three, we had really, really nice vocabulary. Unwinding, putting your feet up, sympathize, ubiquitous, same generation, overwhelmed, and then reckon as well as a synonym for think. So really impressive with the lexical resource. Well done.
thank you.
Yeah. And and I expected that from reading your essays as well. I thought I'm looking forward to seeing the vocabulary that Noemi's got.
I think I am better in writing than in speaking because I have more time to think, and yeah. But
Well,
with speaking,
it strikes me
really,
that you might be a bit of a perfectionist.
yes, I guess so, and maybe because Filipinos are really like, I mean, my fellow Filipinos, I feel like they are very judgmental when you don't like speak good English. They say it's like in they equal it to intelligence, something like that. So yeah, and of course I want to get rid of that, but still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand it means that your vocabulary is at a very high level and you take pride in that, and then on the other hand it means that sometimes if you don't feel you're doing well, you start to stutter and you get a bit worried.
Yes.
It has good points and it has bad points. And then one thing I really like about your answers is you had a lot of natural linking words, like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask, but that kind of stuff is really nice, because you're being honest. You're not. So when IELTS students learn linking words, often they learn these set phrases that they want to use, but they're not appropriate. So they go, oh, that's a good question. If you asked me, I would say, and it's not natural. And examiners know when something is memorized and when something is natural.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're trained to do. And you're using a lot of these linking words very naturally. Like little things like, I'm not sure if I'm the right person, because you genuinely felt, well, who am I to give advice? And that kind of stuff is brilliant, because that's you conveying your ideas. And examiners will definitely appreciate that.
Okay.
And then pronunciation is very good. There was sometimes there were problems with your sentence stress, and that was sometimes in part two when you started to stumble a little bit. But you're definitely at least band 7 for pronunciation, because everything that you said was very easy to understand, and at a word level, your word stress is very good. So it's all very clear to understand you, and with the right amount of luck, you would be able to move into that band 8 level for pronunciation as well. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I'll be contented as long as I get the 7. Because yeah, I'm not applying to become a IELTS expert or a teacher so that I could get the 8 and 9, but as long as I can get 7, I will be happy.
Well, I think that's very likely. I think you're setting yourself up well to get your band 7.
Yeah, I also feel like I don't need to be I should not be complacent, because maybe it's only like the type of the test that I will get. So I really hope that I can get a good set of questions also.
Yeah.
Yeah.